What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drivers Edition. And today I am out in beautiful Utah. And I know, what are you doing in Utah? And the car search don't stop, but I'm having fun as well. And I just wanted to share with you real quick. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drivers Edition. I had to get out that weather, man. So I'm sitting in the car, but let's get into this conversation. So in a recent conversation, I was talking to a person, or should I say, one of you guys reached out and sat there and said, what is the most underrated supercar on the market? And I feel like that's a good conversation piece to have, because many of us think, or we know, it's the obvious answer. And the obvious answer to me would be the C8Z06. But we're going to get into that argument. We're going to have people say that is not a true supercar. So then I have to say, well, what would come up next? And I think this topic, or this answer from me, is going to be an interesting conversation. So let's dive in. So what's up, everybody? It's your boy Show. I'm out here in Utah. Yes, you heard me say that right, Utah. I am enjoying the scenery. I'm still on the car search right now. To be honest with you, I came out here to take a look at two cars. One of them would just happen to be a Ford F-150 Super Snake, pretty much the pickup truck of a Cobra. Yes. And this thing is supposed to be amazing. Unfortunately, when I got here, the car was sold online. That happens from time to time. It's rare, but hey, it's whatever. But there were a couple other cars I was willing to look at while I was out in the area. One of them taking me back to the Range Rover Sport SVR, and probably the car we're going to talk about today. So getting back on focus, this is ICNV Drivers Edition. It's the car enthusiast channel for people that love to drive cars to make you turn your head, that aren't your everyday people movers. But at the same time, we're an interactive community, which means if you hit me up on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I'll do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up, just like this one, is interesting enough, I'll shoot a video on it. So when we start talking about supercars, I feel like the conversation piece always comes down as to what is the real classification of a supercar. If you ask me, a supercar is built around the performance capabilities, the design, meaning how it handles in tight turns and straightaways, and the aerodynamics. But not only those two pieces, it's also this stuff has to be constructed from the factory to perform in a certain way. In the past, I would say anything over 500 horsepower would technically get into the supercar category, but as time has progressed, 550 and now 575 or even 600 has become, I guess, the baseline. But even still, when you have that conversation and those type of standards, I don't understand why the Corvette C8 platform doesn't get in there. But this is not a Corvette C8 conversation, so I'm going to keep this raw and real. The conversation I was having with this person, they was like, well, we know you're going to say Corvette, but let's remove Corvette from the equation because they don't believe Corvette is a supercar. So what would I classify as an underrated supercar? Well, I think if you really want to look at it from that point of view, I think there's really only two options. Two options that you can truly consider. The first option to me would be the Acura NSX. And why do I say the Acura NSX? This car was disrespected the moment it came out. When it first came out in 2017, no one wanted it because of the hybrid option. People were, I would say, steering away from it. It made them uncomfortable. And because of that, we saw Acura NSXs reach an all-time high on a rebate side, which, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen the factory offer a $40,000 rebate. And because of that rebate, I almost potentially became an owner. The only issue was, at that point in time, I was not looking to spend $100,000 on a car, because with the rebate and the vehicle I was looking at, it was coming out to $109 plus taxes. But for some odd reason, I was willing to spend 93. So maybe I should have just stepped up to the plate and ate it. But that car from the Jump Street, and I remember watching Jay Leno videos and actually watched him on TV talking about the Acura NSX, and the person that designed it, which was it was a woman. And she had some very reasonable and knowledgeable reasons for why she did what she did with that car. And people, to me, just did not embrace it the way it should have been embraced, in my opinion. So when I look at the Acura NSX, the performance is there. It has the supercar look. It has the mid-engine platform. But then I think the V6 is what hurt it. And I know you're going to say, well, Porsche has a V6. The 911 has a V6. The 911 Turbo has a V6. And the Acura NSX is turbocharged with a hybrid platform. But I think the problem with the Acura NSX is the platform, if they utilized, that turbo output didn't put out enough horsepower to make the car more appealing. I believe the Acura NSX would have been more of a desire if they would have went slightly bigger turbos or just increased the horsepower to just above 600 with the hybrid platform. I feel like not getting above 500 with the gas engine was the problem, especially since it was turbocharged. So because the hybrid technology was brand new back then, and even today a lot of people are avoiding it, it's skeptical, I feel like that makes a good argument as to why the Acura NSX just gets no respect. But when you look at the performance factors, it does give you good numbers. And these numbers are very respectable when it comes to other supercar cars. But I would say this to you. If you think I'm wrong about the Acura NSX, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are about the Acura NSX, and do you think it belongs on this stage? Or is it one of the most, I would say, underrated or most disrespected supercars out there? Now my second choice is the Mercedes AMG GT, and we're talking about the S, the C, and the R, but I would stay mostly around the S and the C. Now the AMG GTS pretty much is what they call the best bang for your buck. To me, it gives you base C8 platform performance, and I'm sorry I use a Corvette for a reference. It's just, I know a lot of my Corvette friends are going to watch this video, but it gives you base Corvette C8 platform performance, but it handles a little bit different. It has a little bit different, its own driving personality and dynamics. And when you look at the AMG GT platform, it has the base AMG GT, you have the GTS, and you have the GTC, and you have the GTR. Now, I feel like the GTC often is the forgotten child, but it is, for me, as far as I'm concerned, that's the bargain range performance car for you. But when the GTC was introduced, most people felt like the C was for convertible, and if you weren't looking for a convertible, you didn't really look at the GTC. And the GTC has extra horsepower. This puts out 550 horsepower compared to the 506 horsepower or 515 from the S. And because of that, the cost difference is what made people say, hey, do you really need the extra horsepower? The coupe is slightly more lightweight. The absence of the horsepower can be made up in the performance of the S. So these two cars are typically the ones that people seek out, but the GTS is the one that has become the most popular. And when you look at the AMG GT, I know some of you are going to say, is it really a supercar? And I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of people consider this car a supercar. You see the AMG GT at many supercar functions. And what you come to understand is the AMG GT S and C seem to be more accepted in the supercar community because of its limited availability. They didn't make a lot of AMG GTs for the United States. So when you look at how many cars actually made it to the States, that number is quite small. And then when you look at overall production, the United States didn't really get a huge chunk, which is very surprising. So I feel like that's one of the main reasons the AMG GT gets accepted into the supercar community. But on the other side, one of the biggest reasons why I feel like it gets disrespected a lot is because when I look at most AMG GT owners, and I'm not trying to offend a lot of people, but most AMG GT owners that bought the car brand new, they were more older people who were really buying a GT. So they weren't buying the car for the performance, although they may have got performance with it, which is a very common and similar trait to the Corvette. They were buying the car as a good driving roadster, a good driving Grand Tour. And I saw a lot of older people with this car. When I say older people, I'm talking about people in their early 60s, maybe late 50s, but they were driving these cars and they weren't even driving them fast. So they had a car that can really perform, that had a lot of track capability, and they were using these cars to drive around town. So because of that, it typically has the same persona as a Mercedes SL. And when you look at the Mercedes SL, we know that isn't built for performance. It's actually built for a GT car. It's more of a status symbol. And I think that's what happened with the GT. A lot of people bought the AMG GT as a status symbol like a Mercedes SL. And I feel like the GT is the reason why the SL sales went down, because it was a little bit more appealing car for a Grand Tour. And I think this is carried over to the point where we now look at AMG GTs and the newer versions of them, they resemble a lot like, I would say, a Porsche, which is their main competition, or the cars they were designed to compete against, and also the new SL. They are very similar in design. So I think Mercedes just gave in and said, if you're going to buy the GT as an SL, we'll offer the SL looking like a GT with less power. So I think the identity crisis is what really hurts the Mercedes AMG GT, and that's why it gets disrespected on the supercar market. So now, out of the 3 cars I listed, if I had to rank them, I would honestly sit there and say the Corvette C806 is the most disrespected supercar, because you can actually take that car to supercar events and they, depending on the location, will not let you bring it in. Followed by that, I would say, is the Acura NSX. The Acura NSX will get into supercar functions, but the desire for ownership just really isn't there. And even when you compare it to the last car, that Mercedes AMG GT, regardless of which version of the GT you get, if you look at overall GT sales, there are less AMG GTs on the marketplace and available to purchase than there are Acura NSXs. And because of that, that's why I feel like the Acura NSX is disrespected more, because overall, it produces more horsepower than 3 versions of the AMG GT platform. And for it to deliver that type of power and yet still not have a demand, I don't know what to say, man. But then again, maybe it comes back to the fact that the Acura NSX is hard to separate from any other basic Acura or even the Honda platform. I mean, there are so many reasons I can tell you why the Acura hasn't gotten the respect, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's a toss-up, a coin flip between those 2 cars. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe I hit it head on? Is there another supercar or a car that's very heavily well accepted in the supercar community that you actually believe gets disrespected the most? I believe it comes down to these 2 cars, and honestly, I feel like either day it could go either way. If you ask me on a Sunday, I may say the AMG. If you ask me on a Thursday, I may say the Acura. But right now, I'm going to roll with the Acura NSX. So let me know what you think in the comments below. ICNV Driver's Edition. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driver's Edition community. Like I stated before, this is a community for car enthusiasts that love to drive cars to make you turn your head, that aren't your everyday people movers. But we're also an interactive community, which means if you hit me up on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I will do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up is interesting enough, I may even shoot a video on it. But don't forget, we were all made in his image and given dominion over the world. which means we weren't just meant to be. So chase your dreams, build your visions, never ever give up, and embrace your own identity. It is okay to be unique. He's not done with you, and he's definitely not done with me. You are more than capable of achieving your dreams or your desires because you were given everything you need. So just remember to stay humble, stay focused, and stay blessed. And I'll see you in these streets. Peace.